WIIFTBP. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me.
Monster Jam. Coming to Allstate Arena September 17th through 19th. Brought to you by BKT Tires. Visit monsterjam.com for event details. You have to see it live, so get your tickets today.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., Tuesday through Saturday.
Your kiss is one of a kind, it feels so nice. Girl, you do it right. I miss you. Oh, girl, you don't go too fast, you take your time. Just how I like. I miss you. Hey, oh, you kiss it, then I'm drifting off your love. Keeps me floating, girl. I miss you. Oh, and ooh, it feels so good. I wanna come down. Girl, I'm missing that love. Come on. Ooh, babe, I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me. Oh, babe, I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me. Come on. When you're not around, girl, I'm weak. I swear I be hearing things hard. And if I cannot have you, girl, I'm feeling. Oh, that's such a talent you bring. Yeah. Ooh, and it's too long. If I can hold you in my arms, if I can find a real good love. Ooh, that kiss is a drug to me. Baby, your kiss is all I need. Come on. Ooh, it feels so good, baby. Oh, come on. Ooh, babe, I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me. I miss it already, girl. I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me. I miss it already, babe. I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me. Oh, babe, I'm missing all those kisses. Baby, bring those lips to me.
Good morning. Welcome to I Do, I Did, I Don't, and What's in It for the Black People Media. This is Tasha Napper here, and I am sitting with my special guest today, Dr. Octavia Alzheimer, and we are going to have some conversation. We're going to talk about why we don't talk about it. because there are lots of things that happen within marriage, within dating, within the community. And we're finding that many women are just not having the conversations that need to be had. And unfortunately, that means that a lot of us are learning lessons over and over and over. And we don't even have to, because we have our sisters that can really help us to get through some of this stuff, but we're not talking about it. So we're actually going to have some conversation about that. As you are tuning in, I would like for you to like, to share, and to follow. Follow both What's in It for the Black People Media so that you get alerts when this wonderful content is happening, such as I Do, I Did, I Don't, but there is a host of other shows that are on this network that are awesome shows. So like the page so that you get notifications of that. And then I want you to like the I Do, I Did, I Don't page specifically so that you get my content when it's coming on, because I share it from What's in It for the Black People Media's page. And we all know someone who can benefit from these conversations. So share. I want you to take a minute and share this broadcast with those in your network, with other groups that you're in, so that folks can have this great information that we are sharing on I Do, I Did, I Don't. And so let's talk to Dr. Alzheimer so she can tell us about herself. She is, as she calls herself, she's a Renaissance woman. So it's hard trying to develop titles sometimes or get the titles right for folks, because she is a professor, she is a consultant, she is a community advocate, and so, yes, Renaissance woman.
Absolutely, I'll take that.
Yes. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, because
Absolutely.
I know there are so many different parts of you, but let's give them a taste of who Dr. Octavia Alzheimer is before we dive into this conversation.
Oh, sure thing. Well, first and foremost, I'm a lady.
All right.
I am a woman.
She is a
okay.
lady. She's a
Right
woman.
here.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And then after all these other accolades that's awarded to me, I've been fortunate enough to be the mother of 4 children. So I am a mother above all things. And then all those other things come into play. I'm a professor, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm all of that. But none of that is even comparable to being a mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
I wear that crown very highly. You know, it's tilted a little, but I straighten it out. So that's just who I am.
You know, being a parent is running the gauntlet. So that crown does get knocked a couple times, and we have to straighten it back up. And sometimes we're like, wait, what just happened? So,
absolutely.
But it is amazing. I did not realize that you have 4 children.
I do.
And you look absolutely fantastic to be a mom of 4.
Hey, that's what we do. Those great genes.
Yes. Black don't crack gene.
No.
All right.
No.
So what else would you like the audience to know about you? You are a lady. You are a mom.
I am
doing
that.
a fantastic job.
Thank you. And I'm here because we have issues that I think as a community we don't address. Mm-hmm. And so you and I getting together, you know, this think tank of what it is we want to talk about and what there's lacking in the community, or taboo, if you will. So I am one, or proponent for women.
Yes.
Most importantly, Black women.
Amen.
And I think that we really need to be in tune with each other and be factual with each other and stop operating in silos with each other, because guess what? You hurt is not any different hurt that our ancestors have gone through. So why are we covering these things up independently? What is the problem, right?
Yeah, we have this history of not talking to each other, of being scared, one, and you know, a lot of that is rooted in history and why, so it's understandable. But today we're doing the same things, and we don't necessarily have to. We have to support each other, and we have to do that differently and in a much more deliberate and strong and unapologetic way, and a real authentic way of supporting our sisters, so that we don't continue to just kind of have the same things happening that are happening. And so I'm really, really glad that we are able to have this conversation. And I think this conversation is going to continue.
Absolutely.
Not just here. But what are we talking about? What kinds of things don't we talk about? And for those of you that are listening in and watching, I want you to comment on some of the things that are the taboo topics that we don't find ourselves talking about, we wonder about, we just don't have the conversations. And then when we do have the conversations, it's like, oh, you too? You have it? What? So one of those things we don't talk about, because this show is all about divorce, right? And it's not, I shouldn't say all about divorce, but that's sort of where it stems from, right?
Absolutely.
We get to the I do stage of getting married, this I did stage where we're sort of like, I don't know if this is working, might be separated, trying to work through it. And then the I don't stage where we are divorced or divorcing and then divorced. And so in the process, for me personally, I found that there was a lot of information that I lacked and didn't have. And I think sometimes people are scared to talk about it because they don't want to sort of put that on you. Like we don't want to name and claim divorce. We don't want to feel like we're damaging our our friendship or our relationships. And so they see dysfunctional things happening within the relationship. They see the toll that it's taking on the friend, the other person, but we just don't always talk about it.
Why is that? Why is that in the Black community that when your marriage is busted up, it's a taboo like incest? Why aren't we talking about it?
Because it's happening left and right.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about it.
But let's talk about it this morning. Listeners, we're engaging you guys this morning. We're talking about these things because we are ready to flush these things out. One thing that is true is that the pandemic has changed the world. How about we change the way we interact with each other?
Yes.
Relationships.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing, my friend, both male and females alike, that pandemic done shook this thing to its core.
It sure
and you're
has.
seeing marriages of 20 plus years falling apart because what the pandemic forced them to do is to interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what it found out is that they don't like each other, right?
Yes.
We don't talk, see the hustle and bustle and, the constant on the go, right?
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to stay in separate quarters.
Right.
But that pandemic forced us to come on in and deal with each other.
And see each other.
And what that made us do is realize that I don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like her. Look how he irons his underwear
Girl,
every day.
Why is he chewing like that?
That's right.
Why does she always
That's
have
right.
something to say? You're absolutely right. And we have one comment that says we don't talk about it when we're in a relationship. It's fear of gossip and fear of pride. That is so very true. That's so very true. So you do have to be you have to be choiceful about who you talk to.
Absolutely.
And how much you share, but at the same time, because we're so afraid that somebody's going to say something, people see it already anyway.
Listen, how about let's talk about this Facebook stuff, right?
Yeah.
We get to hide behind social media. We posting pictures, my boo, my babe, and your stuff is busted up at home.
Yes.
And then you go to church and you're crying out to God. Guess what? The Bible says faith without works is dead, baby. Mm-hmm. Listen, you let yourself get overweight. You're no longer appealing to that man. He's gotten overweight. He's not taking care of himself. So what attracted us to each other? We don't have those things, and yet and still we're wondering why our spouses are going elsewhere. And that's both men and women alike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not biased because I've been accused of being more egotistical in the sense that I'm more so logical thinking from a male's perspective because I'm dealing with, what we don't do, ladies, we don't deal with ourselves, accountability within ourselves. Right.
And I'm going to say the men don't either.
So men don't, but let me tell you as a sister, right? See, because I'm real. If this is what we going to do, we going to air this thing on out.
Right.
I had to be by myself for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And within those 3 years, I didn't date. Mm-hmm. I didn't do anything. I dealt with Octavia because oftentimes we can talk about the men all day, but we're going to spend some time talking about the ladies because I think the ladies really need to engage or re-engage who we really are.
Yes.
I needed to do the work. See, I can't keep pointing the fingers at you when I'm broken on the inside.
Right.
It's not your fault that I got daddy issues. It ain't your fault that other man hurt me. Everybody deserves a clean slate, and you are not that man. And until we address these issues, these daddy issues, these mama issues,
these abuse issues,
come on, these trauma bonds we get ourselves back into.
Absolutely.
We're going to continue to see the cycle of divorce.
And so we were talking about this last week. week because I was saying how it's, I chose during the process of my divorce not to date at all because that was just my own conviction.
Yes.
And how I felt about it. But I also realized I'm not in a position, the mind frame, the spiritual frame, the emotional state to date at all at this point. Yes. I need to heal before I can get to that point of even thinking about dating because it's a recipe for disaster,
That's
right?
right.
There's no need for a rebound relationship to repeat some of the other stuff. There's no need for walking in knowing that I'm injured and hurt and what is going to happen is injure or hurt someone else.
Absolutely.
And I need to postmortem, like, what the hell just happened here?
Grieve that thing.
Yes,
Grieve
absolutely.
that thing.
And I gave myself all the time that I needed
Yes.
in order to do that and was unapologetic about it. I don't care if you want me to speak to you and think that I should be over it by now. I'm not. This is the time that I need. This is my process, and I will walk through it the way that I need to.
Yes.
In order to be well. And so that meant therapy.
Yep.
That meant restructuring how I look at and run my life.
That's right.
That meant time off from work for me. That's because I really needed to make sure that I was taking care of myself. And I had not done that before. And I needed that time.
Yes, you do.
It meant restructuring my thoughts around how I take care of Latasha as well.
That's right.
And so we do have to think about how did our traumas, how did our abuse, how did our prior relationships, how did what we see as our parents or, whether they were together or not, what functional things did we see and what dysfunctional things did we see that influenced this relationship?
Yeah.
And what did I learn and what do I need to unlearn now?
Absolutely.
In the process?
Absolutely.
And so it is, it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's hard work.
Yeah.
And it's challenging work for us to do. But to your point, it's very necessary that we do that work because hurt people hurt people.
Absolutely.
We're going to continue to have dysfunctional relationships if we don't deal with us.
Well,
individually.
Hey, if we don't deal with us, we're going to take that mess on to the next relationship and to the next relationship until the next relationship. Until you do the work, get into that thing. You know, in the church, they say in the shanda, right? Get into that soul. If we don't get into there and do that work, guess what? One thing that, my mother and my sister had to remind me of, because as I cycle through, that's what I'm going to call it. As I cycle through, you kind of lose a bit of yourself.
You do.
And something that I know about me, I love love. So most people, and maybe I'm an anomaly and I'll take that. But just because it didn't work with you doesn't mean it doesn't work with someone else. But you got to do the work. You got to do the work, sis. If you don't do the work, you don't pass the test, it will come up again.
So what does the work look like? Let's talk about that. What does the work look like?
Baby. We talk about issues within the self. I think we need to go back to the childhood trauma that have stigmatized, that have trapped you, right? A lot of people are stuck. I won't mention any names, but I'll share with you because this is about sharing so we can help someone else. Someone once told me if a mother calls her son both his names, his first and middle name, he's a mama's boy.
Well, we had a conversation about that a few weeks ago, too.
He a mama's boy. So if he still is attached to mama, he doesn't really qualify or put himself into position of what the Bible says, that a man is supposed to leave and cleave onto his spouse. And so oftentimes men are still mama's boys, and they have, so we could talk about women, but we're on the subject of men right now. Men who do not find that validity within their moms, if their moms didn't give that validity, if their moms emasculated them, then they come to you, this broken, toxic person. And you thinking most women want to try to save somebody. They want to save somebody. And so you're trying to save him and losing you all throughout the process.
And I think that's such a cyclical thing for Black women, because unfortunately we have been called upon time and time again to save our families, to save our communities, to save our country, to save our churches.
Yes.
And we are looked at as such strong pillars that we can do anything, but we neglect ourselves in the process. We're not saving ourselves. We're so busy trying to make sure that we're saving everyone and everything around us, our children too. And so, and sometimes it's a family, the extended family. Okay, I need to help grandma now. I need to help this person at the church. I need to help my mom. I need to help my dad. I need to help. I need to do this. But what about you, sis? So many times we are taking care of and carrying the burden, shouldering the burdens of the world, literally, and neglecting ourselves. And when we do that, then we get to this place where we are just disillusioned about what has happened. We are overwhelmed. We are, as your word, busted, disgusted, can't understand what's going on and why. And we haven't realized our role in that. And it's so countercultural. It has to be so deliberate for you to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And we're often told when we do that, we're selfish. I remember having a conversation about this, about why others should be before me. I'm like, I can't take care of other people unless I'm well, or I take care of myself. And so we get to this place then where, well, so first, let me just, I'm gonna land this plane, but let me just kind of walk through this, right?
Later.
Because first, we have to realize, one, the dysfunctionality in our thinking.
Yes.
And our behavior.
Yes.
Right? We intellectually, sometimes cognitively know that we need to take care of ourselves, but we still don't do it. We still repeat all the patterns that we've seen, and it is so easy to do, but it's so hard to break that and to do something different, because we have constantly been told, constantly reinforcing everything, that we're the saviors almost. It's what essentially is being fed to us, and we need to self-destruct in order for others to be well.
I need you to stay there in that vein for a moment, because you said something that resonated within my spirit. And you say we don't take care of ourselves. And it leads me to for this to come up to the surface, is that Black women are the only unprotected species on the planet Earth.
And endangered.
Endangered. We are. And so we're taking care of everybody else.
Yes, we are.
We're neglecting ourselves. And what we've now have been pushed. You know, I was just having this conversation with my 24-year-old son last night. And he said, Mom, you're an alpha woman. I said, son, let me debunk that myth, because that's what it is. An alpha woman only exists because we were forced into this role.
That's right.
An alpha woman, per God's guidelines, we don't exist. The deficiencies or the lack thereof forced us to rise to the top, to become these domineering women, because we've been forced to do that. And so I had to correct my son. I said, son, this isn't my rightful role. This is a role that I'm forced into. And until he comes and show himself, he say, well, what do you say, Mom? What are you saying? I said, well, do realize, son, I'm not going to go down on a sinking boat. If I see that you're not a captain of our ship, what I will do is I'm going to jump into another boat, or move you to the side,
girl,
jump into another boat and row us to safety. Now, if you want to sink and swim or sink, I'll let you. But for me and mine, I'm going to row us home to safety.
Okay. So let's keep with that, because that is exactly what happens.
Yes.
And it's what happens in marriages often, when we try to step back. We try to allow the man to lead, but there is a leadership vacuum.
Yes.
And when that leadership vacuum is there, we are going to step in to fill it.
That's right.
Because we're not going down with a sinking boat.
That's
Remember,
right.
we've been taught and told we can save any and everybody.
That's right.
So we are going to do whatever we can to keep that boat afloat. If that means that I'm sitting there, that I need to try to plug the hole, if I need to just keep going with buckets and getting the water out and pouring it up, that's what we're going to do. To our demise, we will do that.
Ooh. Ooh.
And so you have plenty of women that are in relationships that they know, in marriages that they know are not serving them, are not just not serving them, are killing them. And they are still feeling the need to save it, even though it's killing them. And part of that is, well, we've been taught by the church that this is what we have to do. Part of that is that we've also, we have taken on that trope, if you will. I'm going to say it that way.
Yeah, that's
because
safe.
Because we've been taught that we are these strong individuals, that we don't ever need to be rescued or helped ourselves, and that we can take on the world. And so we wind up embodying that and continuing to try our hardest to make it work. To not let that ship sink. And at some point you have to realize, look, if you're not going to row too, if you're not going to pick up a bucket and try to get some of this water out, if I'm getting the water out and you're not even trying to plug the hole, in fact, what you're doing is putting more holes in the boat.
Move. Get out the way.
I need a new boat.
Get out the way.
I need a new boat. And so this is the conversation that I feel like sometimes we won't have because we're afraid that we may be encouraging people to divorce. No, I'm not encouraging anybody to divorce, and I will never do that. What I will do is to try to reflect what I see.
Absolutely.
And to encourage you to think about what you need.
That's right.
And to take care of yourself so that you're well.
That's right.
And sometimes what that means then is having a conversation in a relationship about, okay, here's what I need for this to work and be well. Here's how it's impacting me right now. Here's what I need. And sometimes we got to work through that with each other first, because you can't say everything to the spouse sometimes. It's some things you can't unwind. Once it's said, it's out there, right?
That's right.
So sometimes we have to have a safe space.
That's right.
Where I can go to my sister friend and say, here's how I'm feeling. I need to have this conversation. I think but I'm not even sure I need to have a conversation yet. I'm just feeling like this. And your sister friend helps you work through. All right, you're feeling like that. What about this? Have you had this conversation? Do you feel like you can have the conversation? Well, let's talk about what do you need? What would you say? How do you say it? Let's plan this thing out so that you can have a productive conversation about what you need to be well in the marriage, what the other person needs to be well in the marriage, and how you're going to walk there together so that it works for both of you.
Well, most importantly, it's called the unveiling. And until women are ready to unveil themselves and become like purely unadulterated, naked with themselves, they're not going to do that. See, if you're not dealing with yourself, how can you go to your spouse and tell them? One thing I get caught up or trumps me when I hear my girlfriends talk is that they want their man or their husband to be a mind reader. No one's a mind reader.
Right.
Do the work. And here, I probably should put it out there. I'm actually bringing a couple of women together because I am writing a book. I think it's imperative to kind of flush this thing back out, to bring it back home. But I'm bringing together a group of women so we can have these more intimate conversations. And when I say intimate conversations, I'm talking about the seasoned veteran women, because what we've lost is a sense of who we are, period. So when we're in a room, you're looking like you got it all together and you broken and you dying on the inside.
Girl, and back to your Facebook, because we curate our lives on Facebook,
my goodness,
right?
The curation is happening
so
right there.
Everything
right
looks
there.
like it's fantastic and wonderful, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. But we choose what we show to the rest of the world on Facebook.
If I took a poll, I just saw something this morning coming over here. I just was laughed and tickled. I know a couple and their stuff is busted up, and they were at an event and they were hugged up, and I'm like, oh dang, we was just ballroom dancing and your stuff. I mean, like, what are we doing? But it's trying to save face. Why are we saving face when we are broken and we hurt? Why can't we, as an ethnic group, like really work within our issues so that the next generation don't continue to pay for our sins. Why can't we do that? Why are we bringing generational things? Break that curse. Break that thing. And so since we don't do the work, we gonna keep it together. What they say, mom and daddy gonna stay together. And so we show them dysfunction. And shame on me because I didn't want to show my kids dysfunction. And so I am not proud to say that I've divorced my husband, and I'm not going to air my business, but rightfully so. But I would not show my children dysfunction. How can mama and daddy stay in the same house in a sexless, loveless marriage? I'm not doing that. So now I'm telling my kids that it's okay for me not to make love to my husband, not to be affectionate to my husband, that the day-to-day picking up kids, going to do this, that's life. That I have one daughter. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. And I love all my sons dearly. But my baby girl is who I'm pulling up in the ranks. So she will see, you know, mom ain't perfect, but you can't do this.
Right.
Loving, caring, because I'm very affectionate. Like my energy is just massive, right? And so if you are that guy and we together, they gonna see mama loving on that man,
right,
hugging on that man.
And if they don't see it, then they realize there's something wrong and some dysfunction here. What's going on?
That's right. But how often, and we don't have to discuss it, right? How often do you see your girlfriends affectionate with their spouse? Holding hands, still looking at each other with those Google eyes, butterflies.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because when you talk about the dysfunction that we teach our children and we pass forward, I think part of that is definitely what we're modeling, right?
Yes.
But we also don't talk about what we've modeled and the mistakes that we've made, so that folks understand I made this choice for this reason.
Yes.
You may not have to make the choice. So before, women would make the choices to stay through abuse, through, fathering other children, all kind of nonsense, because they weren't able to support themselves.
Come on.
And they had children. And so they needed to make sure those children were supported.
Well, stay there. So in a marriage, right? Because let's flush this thing out. Women are leaving their husbands. Abuse is in a category by itself.
Yep.
But women leave their husbands because of infidelity. I get it in its totality. But let's talk about financial infidelity. Because financial infidelity will destroy a relationship just as fast, or if not faster, than the actual infidelity, the sexual piece. And I think oftentimes women or men, when we talk about infidelity, it's the cheating aspect. Well, let's talk about those finances and how it busted up, and you're financially irresponsible, and it's caused such strain on this marriage that it caused it the demise of it.
One of the major things that is a cause of divorce is definitely finances, and like you said, you categorize it as financial infidelity.
That's right.
When we'll talk more about that. But then it's finances. It tends to be the children, when the children come and the expectations don't adjust. And it's other people.
That's right.
Other people.
That's right.
That are somehow, introduced knowingly or unknowingly into the relationship.
That's
Generally
right.
It's unknowingly. We are going to take a break. We have been going, and I think this conversation, our time is like flying. So we're going to take a quick break for a couple minutes and then come back on the other side, and we're going to hit this topic on financial infidelity.
Absolutely.
Again. So stay with us, like, share, follow, and we'll see you after the break.
I press decline and you keep calling me. Give you some love and you want all of it. it. I'm out here working, nigga, get a grip. I'm just trying to touch a mill if you just wanna coexist. I say you clingy and you contradict. Give you my heart, you think it's counterfeit. Give you my word and you won't trust in it. What's the point of loving me if you don't know what trust is? I need the is you give now. Please don't back down on me. I know you've got the attention I need. Put your pride aside for me. Oh, 'cause I need that ease. Put your pride aside for me. That ease. While I'm out trying to get that ease. Know that I need that ease. Put your pride aside for me, baby. You're insecure, it's driving me crazy. I'm trying to get it and you keep on saying you know my love is never enough. I put up with you for too long, now I'm over it. You want affection, I need money, I'ma call it quits. That is, that is, that is. Put your pride aside for me. That is, while I'm trying to get it, that is, need it, that is. Put your pride aside for me. Put it aside, put it aside, put it aside, put it aside, put it aside. Put your pride aside, put it aside.
All right, we are back. Welcome back to I Do, I Did, I Don't Know What's in It for the Black People Media. Make sure, again, that you are sharing, and following so that you get this excellent content. Today, we have been talking with Dr. Octavia Alzheimer, and we are talking about why we just don't talk about stuff. Why do we have to learn the same lessons? Why are we repeating the same things and bringing the same traumas and continuing dysfunctional behaviors? Because we're just not having the conversations. Lots of reasons why. But when we took our break, we were starting to talk about this topic of financial infidelity. Big one, because it's a real reason why a lot of marriages do not survive. Yes. And so I want to pick up with where we were going, and let's just talk about this thing around financial infidelity. So what does financial infidelity look like?
Girl, we ain't even got enough time to flush this thing out. But I guess a brief synopsis would consist of, if you are lying about the money, if there is no accountability about the money, and that's on both ends, right? Yeah. Accountability. And I don't expect, here we are living on the second half of life. I don't expect any two grown people who come together to disclose your entire financial picture or life to each other. However, there needs to be somewhat of a transparent picture in marriage. Right. Second half of life, at this juncture, I really feel like your assets are your assets and mine are mine. Right. And when we come together, we can pool some stuff together and whatever we get. But what it is what it is. But if you come to the table and it's disguised and you are busted, and when I say busted from a financial perspective, because we have to renew the mentality. Black women, I'm talking specifically to you. We have to renew the mentality that just because he has a job, that's enough. Yeah. That's not enough. See, because I know men that have been on their jobs 20 plus years.
That don't have anything
that
to show
don't
for
have
it.
anything. Yet and still, ladies, the new hustle is he'll live off of you. And because Black women, we lack patience, but we tolerate a lot of stuff.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to tolerate him because he got a job, a good government job that he been on for the past 24, 25 years.
Which means he got a pension.
He got a pension. And he got that, but he ain't got nothing. He don't have any assets.
No assets. No discipline. 'Cause
No,
if you had some
nothing.
discipline, you would have some assets.
You would have something.
No vision for where he's
Girl.
really going in life and lining up his finances to accomplish that.
Yes.
Yes. So we are accepting of that sometimes. And then when we get into the relationship,
Yep.
and we can't get him to line up to, here's the goal we're trying to achieve, because that's not been his practice. It's not been his practice all the time. And it wasn't before you got married, but somehow we missed that.
Red
Either because-
flags.
Yeah.
Red
we
flags.
miss, or we ignore it.
That's right.
So we didn't talk about financially
Yes.
how we operate. We didn't see the credit reports.
That's right.
We did not understand fully. And now that we're in the marriage and you're like disillusioned by what you see.
Yeah. But let's take it a step further. When you're dating, the signs are there, right? Mm-hmm. So my philosophy is this: you date me, I date you, right? And women, again, we got to kind of break out of our cycles. Like, I don't spend my money. No, you show a person how to treat you.
That's right.
So I'm going to date you.
Girl, I say that all the
Right.
time. Yes.
So let me date you. Gonna date me, and then I'm gonna date you, and I'm gonna see how you date me. That kind of flushed out some of these things of
It
how
sure
he
does.
is financially. Because if I go back and I remember how my ex dated me, there was no equal. It was so out of bounds. We dated from two different perspectives, and what I do, I made excuses like, oh well, he doesn't make as much as I make. Come on, man. We on the second half of life, and you're older. See, I've maybe older men. I don't know what it is with my life, but right now,
Yep.
I was dating older men, and so if I'm dating you and you're an older man, I am looking for certain things. You should be able to teach me as a 45-year-old woman. Teach me, learn me some things. But when you can't learn me some things, and I'm growing you up, mama's boy, then that's a problem.
Yes.
You bad with finances. Your credit report is not what you said it was. That after the fact, I'm running credit reports and background reports and everything who you said you were. Who did a bleep did I marry, right?
Exactly.
Who did I marry? But we don't want to ask those hard questions up front in terms of finances because it feels good. We feel good.
And this is what I don't understand. This is what troubles me some. And I get it. It's hard to have hard conversations, right? But if we don't have we see red flags, and as some of the viewers are saying, we see it, we ignore it, and then we take on this road thinking we can fix it. But what we won't do is have the tough conversation. It's those tough conversations to me are things like, I want to see your background report. I need to know if you have been jailed for any reason.
Yes.
I need to know if you have a warrant out for your arrest.
Ooh, come on,
Any of
preach.
these things. Have you been in trouble with the law? I want
Yes.
to understand that.
DUIs.
first.
You
Yes.
got any DUIs?
Right.
But here.
But wait, let me
Tasha,
keep
go ahead,
going because
keep
I want
going.
to lay this list out
Yes.
for people. So one, we need to ask about the background. We need to know and understand that we're okay.
Yes.
It needs to be visible so I can make my own decision about what I want to do here, right? And what's a non-negotiable for me or what I'm willing to work with. So one, the background, that's important. Number two, your credit and financial history. That is important. If I am seriously thinking about marrying you and committing my life to you, and my joint financial responsibility now being married with yours, on the other side of that, it can be a disaster. So why won't we ask the questions? Because maybe he won't like us anymore. Maybe he might decide, this ain't the one for me if she needs to see all that and why you so and that. No. So we don't have that conversation. And we don't talk about the family dynamics. We see some of it, but we don't get a chance to really dive in and talk about it. And sometimes I think when we come to family dynamics, we need some help in therapy and couples therapy and before marriage in order to fully understand that and how that plays out forward.
Yes.
Because we walk in, we make this, it's such an easy decision, right? You stand there and you say, I do. You're married, and now you have a financial contract and a social contract with this person, and in some cases a religious contract. But if you are getting married legally, you have signed a financial contract.
But what happens with this, Tasha? how do we give ourselves to someone sexually without any contract, without finding out who they are, but we won't ask the tough questions.
Yes, that
was
on my list.
We will lay down with you, you'll snatch our soul from us. Mm-hmm. But yet and still, I won't ask you what your financial history is, or you get offended.
And I may not ask you about your sexual history either.
Girl.
Can we talk about how many partners? Can we talk about whether there are STDs involved or anything like that? We don't have those difficult conversations because somehow I think we're afraid of going there. One, we haven't been taught and trained. We're not skilled in having difficult conversations, number one.
Absolutely.
But number two, I think we are afraid that the person will run away. And then we'll be left with nobody.
It's somebody for everybody. I'm a firm believer in that.
There is, but you know what? If you're gonna run from a conversation like that, you're not the one.
That's right.
Anyway.
Well, we play ourselves so short these days, and I think to get to where we're trying to go, Black women, we need to renew our mind, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody want to be happily married. Bobby Womack said the best thing. He said everybody wants to be loved. Yes. Everybody is looking for love. Yep. And if you hear a person say they're not, they're lying. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants that. And if you want that, sis and brother, we got to do some work. We got to do the work, because I promise you, in doing the work, my girlfriends ask me all the time, they're like, oh, the men love you. No pun intended, okay, brothers, because I'm getting kind of like some pushback, because as a single woman, I have told single women, you should be dating 2 to 3 men. Period. And the seasons has changed. I said switch them things on out, like the seasons, right? Maybe it's not applicable. And the brothers are upset with me, but I think in order for you to get your best, you need to go out and live your best and stop putting all of your eggs in one bucket because a guy said he likes you or he makes you feel good on the inside. Because
you have to understand what you like. And in order to understand that, you need to have some experiences. Now, I'm not saying to go out here hoeing around.
Ain't
That's
nobody
not
said
what I'm saying at all.
But guess what? If you do, you can hit the whole reset button at any time. Now, come on, stop.
But I am saying, like, have some experience.
That's right.
It's like you tell a student going to college, go. You don't have to declare your major. Try some things. See what you like first.
That's right.
And many of us lock in to that one person because we've determined we like them. They got a good job. They said they like us. They, look how he take care of his mama. And so now we've locked in, not fully understanding who we are as a woman and what we need and what we want, because we don't even have the experience of having men treat us well.
Oh my goodness.
We don't oftentimes know how to be treated well. And I'm going to put myself in that category because I did not grow up as a young girl seeing the men in my family and in my life treat their women well. And so what I learned, and so then we have the women who have to fill in the leadership vacuum, right? Mm-hmm. And so I learned very early, if you're going to get something, it's up to you to go get it.
That's right.
Don't depend on anybody else. My grandmother always says, God bless the child has got his own.
That's right.
And I grew up hearing that from a very young age. And so I understood that if I'm going to have something in my life, that it's up to me to make it happen.
That's right.
And I cannot depend on the man. I know how to change my own tire, because if my car runs a flat, I need to be able to take care of myself, because there's not always a man there to help you do it.
Yes.
And so in some ways, men like that, right? Because they don't have to worry about you. Mm-hmm. But then in other ways, when you are holding them accountable and saying, okay, bro, what's up here? We said this was the goal, that we were going to do this, and I don't see you stepping up.
Yes.
Then it's problematic. See, I want you to submit. I want you to, be that very feminine woman who needs to be rescued in some instances, but then not in others. And I think there's a place for it, right? There's a place for the femininity. But like you said, many times we've been forced into that leadership role where we've had to take on more masculine responsibilities.
That's right.
In order for our lives to work.
Yeah.
And we've done it, and we've done it well, I will say.
Yeah.
We've done it well for the most part. But I don't think there's a woman in this world that truly wants to be in that position.
No. I'm ready to throw this back take it. It's not mine, because the Bible talks about everything is being out of order, right? So the Bible tells us that men, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Mm-hmm.
Then it says, submit yourselves unto each other.
Right.
And then it says, women, submit to your husband. And if any of those things are out of order, men, how do you expect your woman to submit to you when nothing is in place?
Can we just say we started with love your wives as Christ loved the church? That means sacrificially.
Sacrificially.
Submit to one another. I'm so glad that you
right.
got that. We didn't go
That's right.
straight to the wives, submit to your husbands and
That's
respect your husbands. All of that, like there's a hierarchy of how this works.
That's right.
And if those things are in place, then it's a lot easier to get to the place where you can respect and submit.
That's right.
Because you're handling the business. You are loving sacrificially. You are doing what it takes to take care of your family, your wife.
That's right.
And it becomes a lot easier.
Yep. It does.
But when you're not doing that and you're chilling, you're laid back and letting her do just because you know that if you wait long enough, she's just gonna do it. Yes, you lose respect. You lose some respect, and you lose that submission that could be rightfully placed. I don't think it's wrong to submit.
No, absolutely.
But I think the way that many men think about this thing is all wrong.
Yeah. And to have a man tell me, and I just laughed thinking about it as I just was hearing you talk, don't be no sucker. Don't be taking care of no man. I just laughed. I said, he mad because I treated you good, and now you're mad that I'm going to treat the next. When he said that, I scratched my head. I said, well, why would he say that? I'm not a sucker, but I treat you good if you my man, and so you mad of
Because
that
you know
treatment.
somebody else about to get that treatment.
Come on. But we until we continue to have these conversations within our community, guys, in all honesty, it's going to be a vicious cycle that's never ending. We have to continue, like we're talking about the COVID, like we're talking about our kids going back to school. We have to continue to talk about the breakdown of Black relationships and how do we build them back up, because we are deficient. For so many years, there have been so many withdrawals from these relationships.
Yep.
You go from this relationship, you're not healed. You go from that one, you're not healed. And so you come together. We're in the second half of life. If you're 35 plus, you're in the second half of life. And so in order for you to be able to get that thing right, we got to have these conversations and hold each other accountable. See, because if real men were holding other men accountable, all this mayhem wouldn't be able to happen.
Can you say that?
Yes.
Can you say
if
that?
you can't say amen, say oh my.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's so necessary.
It
And the
is.
same is true for us as
Absolutely.
women, right? We need to hold each other accountable to what we know and see.
That's right.
As women, and they need to hold each other accountable to what they know and see as men.
Yeah.
And if we were all doing, and then we should be doing that in our relationship as well.
Absolutely.
And so I like to make sure that for the listeners, I am giving you practical tools, right? Practical tools. We just talked about why don't we have these conversations? Sometimes it's tough to open up, but here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, get with your girlfriends, go to brunch, have some mimosas, and somebody just say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of stuff we don't talk about. Can we create a safe space for us to just talk about? What's one thing that people never talk about but kind of wonder about and want to? Give them permission to open a conversation like that and then continue that conversation. If you don't have, you're not the brunching type, you don't have like a group of girlfriends that you go out with, you have one or two really, really good girlfriends. Have the conversation. Create a safe space. You see your niece, your daughter, someone else that's in a relationship, something's not working, dysfunctional, you're seeing some bad things. Talk to them and say, baby, can I talk to you about some things that I'm seeing? I want to make sure that you're well. I want you to understand I support you. I want you to understand that I'm here for you and whatever, and that I want you to be well. And this is coming from a place of love. I want to tell you some things that I'm seeing. Can I do that? Have those kinds of conversations with folks so that we can open it up and start. Many times we don't know how to start it. We don't know what to say. I'm trying to give you a couple of scripts so that you can get going there, right? And then continue it. Let them know I know this might have been kind of odd, awkward, weird, whatever, but no, we can have this place. You want to come and we have conversations like this, or you have another question, feel free to come and ask. Or if it's weird for you to come ask, text me, and then we can talk about it. Maybe we need to do it that way. Maybe we need to have our hands busy and we're cooking so we don't have to look at each other to have the conversation. Sometimes those things are very practical tools to help you to get to some of those difficult things. Yeah. But then when we talk about these relationships, and you got to have those conversations too. We need to have these conversations about sexual history, about financial history, about criminal histories or backgrounds. All of it needs to be out in the open before we decide to say I do.
That's right.
And then find ourselves saying, oh my, I don't.
That's
And on that note, I think we have covered it. So thank you all for watching. This has been Tasha with I Do, I Did, I Don't on What's in It for the Black People Media with my guest, Dr. Octavia, all-timer. And I think we're going to have her back to have some more of this conversation.
Absolutely.
You guys, I hope that the information is helpful to help you to be better on the other side. Take care.
And I look across the water, and I think of all the things, what you doing, and in my head I paint a picture. Since I've come home, well, my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair, and the way you like to dress. But won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie?